Ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
On this week's special edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, how cattle forage can improve an operation's bottom line. A look at stories from Dow AgroSciences.
And now, a special edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to this week's special edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Kevin Oxner. Thanks for joining us. This week we're taking a look at stories from Dow AgroSciences and learning more about how forage management can mean increased herd productivity and an improved bottom line. Let's take a look. Forages have always been the foundation of a successful cattle program, and they're becoming even more critical as feed prices continue to skyrocket. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Matt Fleck has more.
The beef industry is in the middle of a long-term economic shift. For many years, the availability of cheap feed grain influenced the structure of the beef industry and the types of production systems used. Now, however, record-high corn prices and tight supplies have ranchers searching for alternatives to the typical high corn finishing diets that used to get cattle ready for market.
You know, for many years we had an incentive to utilize as much corn as possible. Corn was in many cases cheaper than forage. As time goes on, we're now 5-6 years into this thing. I think the industry begins to realize, hey, this is a permanent change. We're going to see higher feed prices at some level. We're not sure where they're going to settle out, but they're probably going to be significantly higher than they have been for the last 25 or 30 years. And so once we recognize this is more of a permanent thing, then we begin to not only make short-run adjustments, but make more fundamental long-term changes in the types of production systems that are going to be most efficient in this new environment.
These higher corn prices have raised the value of forage. As a result, it has become cheaper to put cattle gain on grass rather than the feedlot.
We have an incentive now to back away a little bit from some of the grain intensity that we have utilized very effectively in the past. One of the things that I think producers will recognize is that forage has more value now. It's worth it to produce forage. It's worth it to manage that forage better. It's worth it to utilize that forage better. So I think overall this is going to put a lot of emphasis on the forage side of the industry.
As the value of forage has increased, so has the value of good forage management. There are many factors that can affect forage quality, but grazing management to improve pasture utilization is one key area to ensure good productivity and forage quality.
If you go and look at the opportunities among many beef cattle producers, the opportunity to improve and fine-tune through better grazing management is right at the top of my list. It just forces us back to the basics. It forces us back to the basics of forages that helps us to do the job we need to do of producing a quality product. And we know there's a lot of things involved in that. I think the critical thing is to utilize what we grow efficiently. Grazing management, rotational grazing, is going to be a driving force as we move quality forages forward, as we permit quality forages to play a more important role in producing quality animal products. We probably, realistically, we waste about a third of the forage that we produce. And I think if we can just simply do a better job with our grazing management, go from that one big pasture to 3 or 4 smaller pastures, we can go from that 30% utilization up to 50, 55, 60, or even 65%. If we do that with no additional inputs, that's like doubling the size of the farm.
Ultimately, the most profitable forage programs are ones into which thoughtful planning is put. The top producers are always working to improve their operations and are willing to make changes in order to stay on top.
Energy prices are higher, corn prices are higher. We have to be able to be more efficient, do more with less, and utilize the resources that we have available to us, which in this case, it tends to be based around forage. I think with the advent over the last 3 or 4 years of the increased escalation in grain prices, it's really created an environment where to be more efficient and more profit-oriented producers are turning more toward forage-based systems rather than grain feeding systems. I do think there's some opportunities for producers that are willing to adapt But a lot of it gets back to efficiencies. How can I do more with less? I know that's kind of cliched, but it's probably never been more important than it is right now. And again, maybe looking at doing things in a less traditional sense. Maybe not the way that we've done it for the last 20 or 25 years.
The idea here is to be creative, to be open to some new ideas. The dynamics are going to continue to change, so you're going to have to pencil it out over and over again as we go. But there will be significant opportunities for producers if they're prepared to make those changes when the opportunities present themselves.
As the demands on forage increase, so does the need to have a strong forage base. Not only does the grazing have to be properly managed, but weed and brush control is critical as well to increase grass production and ensure grazing livestock can access it. Dow AgroSciences offers a full line of products to suit nearly any rangeland or pasture management situation.
That's one of the good things that comes from utilizing our portfolio. We have many residual herbicides that allows you to go out early into the season and then depend on that soil residual control to provide you season-long control of the weeds. Grazon Next and Forefront are available this year in a brand new high-load formulation. Makes it a lot easier for you to mix and get it out there on your ranch. And it does a wonderful job of controlling most of the tough-to-control perennial weeds. Weeds like thistles up north and particularly horse nettle down south. It does a pretty good job on blackberries as well. And our newest one, Chaparral, does an excellent job on buckbrush up in the northern part of the world, and really does a fantastic job of controlling Canada thistle that usually grows in conjunction with that buckbrush. Down south, we utilize Chaparral for control of blackberries as well as Pensacola Bahia grass. It'll take that out of your Bermuda grass hay and really improve the value of it.
Changes in the cattle industry bring challenges, but also opportunities. For the foreseeable future, there is more value in forage, and more producers are willing to put in the time and effort to properly manage their resources.
We see producers probably keeping cattle on grass a little bit longer before moving them into the feedlot. Putting more weight on the cattle with forages is going to be very economical.
That's not to say that we're going to completely eliminate grain feeding in the U.S. cattle industry, because I don't believe we will, but we're going to see more and more forage being utilized potentially for a longer period of time.
The bottom line is forage has more value, and at this point in time, for the next several years, anything we do that's utilizing those forage resources has quite a bit of value.
One of the very important fundamentals that we've learned repeatedly over the last few years is that the cheapest source of nutrients that we put in our ruminant animals are nutrients from grazed pasture. So every day we can graze, every day we can meet those nutritional needs from grazing is money ahead.
I'm Matt Fleck, reporting for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
For more information on the Dow line of range and pasture herbicides, go to rangeandpasture.com or just visit our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. We'll be right back.
Grow more low-cost forage and improve grazing access by clearing out weeds and brush with these Dow AgroSciences herbicides. See your Dow AgroSciences representative or visit rangeandpasture.com.
They're out there, lurking on your pasture, just waiting to infect your cattle as they graze. Cattle worms cost you money, but a Safeguard strategic deworming program allows you to deworm your cattle and lower worm burdens on your pasture, resulting in improved pregnancy rates and heavier calf weights. Plus, there's a Safeguard form for every operation. So start killing parasites where they lurk. Talk to your animal health provider today about a Safeguard strategic dewormer program. Safeguard. Think strategically. Act decisively.
Hi there, I'm Joey.
And I'm Rory, and welcome to our farm outside Nashville, Tennessee. When we go to work, whether it's on tour or here at home, we wear the West.
That's right. Whether it's that perfect snap shirt or that perfect pair of boots, When you wear Roper, you wear the West.
Learn more about us, Joey and Rory, and about Roper Western Wear at eroper.com.
Telling the truth and being real, and feeding my family a home-cooked meal. That's important to me. That's important to me. And planting the garden and watching it grow.
Hi there, I'm Dr. Dan Thompson from DocDoc. Join me next week as we're going to discuss steroid implants and their use in the beef industry. Steroid implants have been around since the 1950s and have been a great economic tool for America's beef producers. I'll be joined by Dr. Chris Reinhardt, who's an associate professor in animal sciences right here at Kansas State University. So please join me on Doc Talk right here on RFD TV, and I'll see you down the road.
A lush pasture of green grass with cattle grazing are what dreams are made of for many cattlemen, including me. But when those pastures are full of weeds, it can become a nightmare. So what can you do to improve forage quality and quantity and ensure your cattle have the best possible grazing experience? Cattleman and Cattleman reporter Brian Baxter visits with cattlemen across the Southeast to find some of the keys to forage success.
When you think of the cattle industry, you don't think of, North Georgia, but North Georgia is a good place to grow cattle because if primarily for, at least 10 months out of the year, with the right fertilization program, you can grow grass and you can graze them.
With the opportunity for nearly year-round grazing, Steve Lothridge is a fourth-generation Georgia farmer who has long seen the value of working to provide high-quality forage for his cattle. For him, developing a comprehensive weed control program for his pasture land was a key step.
If we don't control weeds, it certainly limits the amount of grass that we have. And we found that in order to raise cattle, you've got to be able to be a grass farmer, and you've got to be able to grow grass. And the spraying with the price of cattle today, the more pounds that we can put on, the more grass that we can grow, the heavier these calves are going to be. And it's all about, in the commercial operation, about producing pounds. And we've got to grow the grass to be able to produce the pounds.
Mike Duke, a cow-calf producer in Mumford, Alabama, also sees the benefits weed control in his pastures bring to his herd.
As cattle prices have improved and gotten higher, so has our fertilizer cost, feed cost, everything else. That's the reason it's so important to make every acre dollar-wise count in production and try to have 100% stay on the grass out there.
Nearly every region across the country faces a wide variety of weeds that will outcompete grass. Correctly identifying those weeds is essential to winning the fight against them.
If we can figure out what they've got in the field, it makes that recommendation a lot easier. If we're combating a lot of buttercup and a lot of thistle, we're going to go with a product like Grazon P+D or Grazon Next High Load early in the year. And later in the season, if we're combating a lot of horse nettle and some pigweed, we might approach a Grazon spray or even some chaparral late in the season to take care of some of the late summer weeds, in addition to getting some nice brush control properties with our chaparral product.
When we're looking at controlling weeds, we need to identify both annuals and biennials, but also be aware of the perennial pressure we have. One of our biggest targets in the early season is going after thistles, buttercup. We have a terrible problem with purple dead nettle and henbit. And using products like Grazon Next High Load, we can take advantage of the knockdown kill we can get out of that product, as well as the residual control.
Grazon fits well because it's a very good broadleaf herbicide, and in the early spring we do have a lot of trouble with buttercups and thistles, and Grazon really works well, and it's got a long residual effect that it'll keep you have a lot of residual kill on those weeds for several weeks after you've sprayed it.
That residual control eliminates weed competition and allows the grass to get a foothold on the land. A good way to start a weed control program is with soil testing to ensure proper fertilization for the new grass.
If a guy's thinking about using a good quality residual herbicide, my first recommendation is obviously to do some weed identification, make sure they've got a good relationship with their local co-op, make sure we've soil tested that ground.
The weed control, of course, is just one part of it. If their fertility levels due to pH, due to phosphate and potash levels, if they're not correct, it doesn't matter how few weeds they have or not, they're just not going to have good grass. So after we walk the fields, normally it'll be a soil test pulled, and then when it comes back, we'll go over what they need fertility-wise.
As valuable as this resource, this grass is for us, trying to maximize the most we can get out of it is very critical. And I think that staying on a program approach and taking care of this grass is our most important thing.
The Dow AgroSciences field team works closely with cattle producers to identify weeds, review product options, and recommend pasture improvement programs that build and improve the forage base over time. Producers often apply products such as Forefront HL, Grazon Next HL, and Chaparral themselves, or they work with a co-op or custom applicators to get their pastures sprayed.
We have a couple of different options. We have one that we've bought a couple of years ago. Some of this pasture is very rough, steep, too steep to get a spray rig on. We bought a pull-type sprayer, PTO, driven through 500-gallon tank with a cluster nozzle on the back. We also run 3 spray rigs, 2 with 80-foot booms if we're doing some bigger pastures or hay fields, and 1 with 60s if we're doing smaller. We custom apply any chemical pretty much out there.
Dow AgroSciences line of products, they have a real good rep. We pick up the phone. He will help us identify weeds sometime and help recommend the chemicals that we need. Basically, any weed problem we have, one of their products will suit the need.
No doubt controlling weeds and improving forage quantity and quality involves an additional cost up front. But the investment in weed control pays clear dividends.
She's going to say, well, why do I need to spend this? And that's where I come in to say, look, it's going to make you this much money instead of costing you this much. They're going to notice a difference in their fields, especially when they're feeding their cattle. When they start backing off and leaving feed in a trough, and they'll call and they'll say, well, I'm not having to feed them as much. It must be this grass. It must be something we've done. We need to keep doing it. That's their measure.
You know, it's really neat to start working with someone who's really never implemented a herbicide program, because it is a big difference in year one. A lot of times what you can start seeing, you'll see a lot of the vegetation controlled other than the grass. You'll see the grass being released. Usually there's a good height difference in the grass, whether we're talking this time of year when we're maximizing our ryegrass, or whether we're talking into the summertime and we're taking control of some of the other unwanted weeds in our Bermuda and Bahia grass.
If we can get the grass to grow ahead of the weed competition, if we can eliminate the weeds that are in the field, we're going to grow a better stand of grass. And as Mr. Lothridge pointed out, if we can grow more grass, we're going to be able to put more pounds of beef on our animals. And at the end of the day, that animal is going to make us more money. Whether it's at the sale barn or in the feed lot, if we're retaining ownership, that animal is going to be worth a lot more to us and to our operation if we can grow that animal better on grass.
These Southeast producers and producers across the country know feed costs aren't likely to drop anytime soon. So the best way to put more pounds on cattle and ultimately more dollars in your pocket is to use an effective weed control program to make your grass better.
The economics on feeding cattle has not changed. A good fertilizer program, good weed control program, and grasses, any way you look at it, is still the cheapest and most efficient way to raise and do cattle.
Well, I've learned one thing: you've got to be a grass farmer. I mean, if you want, you've got to learn to grow grass if you want to be successful, because you can have the best genetics, you can have the best equipment, you can have everything, but if you can't grow grass, you're going to be in trouble.
From the cattle grazing lands of the Southeast, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
Dow AgroSciences' full range of products can be suited to fit nearly any rangeland or pasture. For help selecting the best product for your individual situation and management goals, head to our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. Visit rangeandpasture.com to find the right product for the job. We'll be right back.
Grow more low-cost forage and improve grazing access by clearing out weeds and brush with these Dow AgroSciences herbicides. See your Dow AgroSciences representative or visit rangeandpasture.com.
When predicting the genetic merit of young Angus cattle, some genomic tests only give you part of the story. For the most complete and dependable evaluation of genetic potential, with more markers and coverage for economically important traits, there's only one genomic test that won't leave Angus breeders in the dark.
It's the official monthly publication of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. The National Cattleman is produced exclusively for NCBA members and includes coverage of the news and events affecting our industry. From Capitol Hill to the far side of cattle country, the National Cattleman provides information NCBA members need. Every issue includes market analysis, feature stories, and practical management tips. Start receiving your copy of The National Cattleman. Call 866-USA-BEEF or go online to beefusa.org and join today.
Now a story that hits a little closer to home. In addition to managing a growing seed stock operation and raising 3 kids, this cattleman also finds time to host a television show that you may be familiar with. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brian Baxter takes us to Kersey, Colorado to spend a day in the life at Auctioneer Limousine.
That's a balancing act. There's, as you see, the breed average.
They could probably tell this on the show, but I'm passionate about the beef cattle industry. I love eating beef. I love the people that raise beef. I love the chance to work around cattle, and I think it's just a real blessing that some of us get the privilege in this world to take care of beef animals.
Cattleman to Cattleman host Kevin Auctioneer, along with his 3 kids, wife, and father, all work together to run Auctioneer Limousine on the family ranch near Kersey, Colorado.
Well, my family is a critical element of our operation. I travel a lot, and because of that, it really is a family effort. My dad typically is responsible for all the farm work, growing feed, and also leads the AIing of our cows. My wife is very involved in calving and also heat checking cows and doing some hand chores every day. And the kids, they have 4-H projects, and they're pretty engaged in the showing of livestock.
Kevin's kids are also learning the ins and outs of the cattle business as a result of his passion for the industry. Kevin and his wife Julie believe it's important to give their children opportunities in the industry and to explore their own interests.
This morning my daughter was getting a heifer ready that she's shown all summer, and she's getting her ready for Denver. And so typically she feeds those heifers and gets them blown out and gets them rinsed in the morning and works their hair. And my son is in his first year in 4-H this year, and so he's just on the front side of learning a lot of that.
I think Kevin traveling has been a blessing for the kids because they have had to step up so much. They have been little hired helpers ever since that they were old enough to walk or carry a bucket or fill a water tank. And so while there are sometimes we think that it's been kind of a bummer that Kevin's had to travel and be gone and we wish he was here more, I think as the kids grow up, I see how they've really taken on responsibility and how this is their cattle business as well because they've been so actively involved and that what they do really matters.
Kevin's passion for raising cattle began at the ripe old age of 2 when his father gave him his first heifer to watch over. His operation has since grown to include raising show cattle and seed stock bulls that he sells direct to other operations.
The registered cattle business combines a couple of my passions. First of all, I love animal science and animal husbandry, and allows me to exercise my brain in trying to make specific matings and utilize technology ranging from expected progeny differences to genetic testing to try to build a better beast. And it combines that with another passion of mine, which is the people business. In the registered cattle business, you've got to be a people person, and you got to like working with and visiting with people.
Kevin's operation revolves around the individual connections made throughout his family's long history in the industry. Continuing the tradition his grandparents began with a farm near Fort Collins, Kevin strives to make every customer a lifelong customer, both through his bull sales and through his marketing program, Tender Lean Beef.
We had a longtime customer from Craig here looking at bulls this morning on his way to visit his son. His dad actually bought bulls from my dad probably 30 years ago, and so our families have been close a long, long time. And he was coming here to look at some fall yearling bulls this morning. I love the relationships that are established in the registered business. A lot of these ranchers like to come and work with the same person, or at least the same family over time. They get to liking your breeding operation, and it's just really neat the kind of relationships that are established over time. Ochsner Limousine is a registered cattle operation. We run about 125 head of registered Limousine and Limflex cows, and we sell bulls to commercial ranchers. And then my wife has a beef business called Ochsner Tender Lean Beef, and she sells beef to consumers up and down the Front Range of Colorado. It's really neat, the opportunity to live in the Front Range of Colorado and to have that direct interface with the end consumer, in addition to the communications that we have with cow-calf operators.
Kevin's skill on the ranch caught NCBA's eye when they needed a host for the show, an experience that was completely new to Kevin.
I had somebody from NCBA call me who had seen me speak at an event and asked me to audition for the show. I auditioned and didn't get the job, and they asked me to do some voiceover work, so I guess I had a face for radio, so to speak. And then a couple of years later, they called and they needed somebody to fill in one day, and I went down there and tried to figure out how to learn to read a teleprompter, and then became the host shortly after that. So it's been a learning experience, needless to say.
Transitioning from the ranch to the teleprompter wasn't without its challenges, but the chance to host NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman brought several of Kevin's passions together and opened the door not only for himself to meet industry leaders, but to bring those leaders to viewers.
I think Cattleman to Cattleman is a really unique show. I mean, there's no place that you can go within an hour's time to get the latest in what's happening from a marketing perspective and what's going on legislatively. In hearing from some of the smartest people in our industry, and some of the interviews that we do are just incredible. And then you combine that with some of the really neat special interest stories. I love the environmental stewardship award stories that we do, and a lot of the other special interest stories. And you get to be entertained by our friend Baxter Black. He's always a kick to listen to. So I think it's a really unique opportunity in a comfort of your own home to stay abreast of what's happening in our industry.
Not only does Kevin advocate watching Cattleman to Cattleman to stay current with industry trends, but he supports NCBA by being a member and actively engaging with the cattle industry.
There's a lot of opportunity in the cattle business today, but I think there's a lot of opportunity to make some big mistakes, just given the volatility and what's happening from a governmental and political standpoint. And I think NCBA is our opportunity as producers to come together not only to be educated, but to be engaged in making things happen positively for our industry. We have tremendous opportunity in this beef cattle industry, but we've got to capitalize on it, and it's going to take a group of us combined in a national organization to do that.
Reporting from Kersey, Colorado, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
For more information about the National Cattlemen's Beef Association and to join me as a member, head to beefusa.org or just give us a call at 1-866-USA-BEEF. And don't forget to like us on Facebook. One of the most important things this industry can do to preserve its future is focus on its youth. And that's the mission of the Young Producers Council at the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Reporter Brad Bulla has more on this progressive group from Nashville, Tennessee.
My favorite thing about YPC is the interaction with the other members of the group. It's a fun group to be around. They're very easy to talk to. Bounce ideas about different production practices or leadership initiatives or whatever you want to talk about.
I think the networking is the best thing. I've made so many good friends through this group, and I've just expanded my network of people, and I have people all over the country I can call if I have a problem. If I want to know something about a certain sector of the cattle industry or I have a question, I can call somebody. I know somebody in that part of the cattle industry.
The NCBA Young Producers Council is a group of aspiring leaders focused on educating their generation and working to guide the beef cattle industry into the future.
It's important for young people to be involved in the industry because the average age of the producer these days is a lot older than it needs to be. As the time passes, we need to be able to fill that generational gap and be able to still provide a safe, wholesome beef product at a reasonable price.
The YPC group is an active one, meeting twice a year at cattle industry meetings. In Nashville, the group tackled issues ranging from association policy to personal leadership development.
We're the next generation that's going to take over the industry, and there's a lot of different policies and regulations that are coming out of Washington that maybe we don't agree with them, and if we want to have a say in how things are going to be in the future, we need to speak up and make our voice known and our opinions on these things so that we can assure that there's a future for us.
That's one of the best parts about YPC is we can take down some of those barriers and allow for young producers to quickly gain momentum by being involved in the policy committees, by taking leadership roles within YPC. You get the chance to interact with the other executives.
When the group isn't meeting in person, the young producers discuss issues on the YPC Facebook page, and they lean on their industry connections to make a difference and promote NCBA.
All we're looking for is just somebody that has an interest in the industry and wants to become a part of something through NCBA. So when you sign up for an NCBA membership, you just check the box there at the bottom that says, I want to be a YPC member, and then come on in and join. And we're very open, we're very easy to talk to. It's not very formal, so it's a really unique opportunity for young people to get involved in the industry.
With the Young Producers Council in Nashville, Tennessee,
it's a fun group to be around, and I encourage anyone out there to please sign up and join.
I'm Brad Bullitt for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
NCBA members ages 18 to 35 are encouraged to join the Young Producers Council, and it's free. Go to our website, cattlemantocattleman.org, for more information.
Preventing cattle pink eye is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Vaccinate your animals with Piligard Pink Eye TriView to provide pink eye fighting antibodies in the tears that bathe the eye. Broad spectrum protection that cross-reacts with 103 different strains of pink eye causing bacteria. 2. Stop the flies that spread pink eye bacteria throughout the herd. Apply double barrel VP ear tags and Ultra Boss Pour-On for up to 5 months of face fly and horn fly control. 3. Manage the environment to reduce damage to the animal's eye from seed heads, pollen, and UV light, irritants that increase the risk of pink eye infection. With the right tools, preventing pink eye is as easy as 1, 2, 3.
When it comes to versatility on your operation, nothing beats a John Deere D-Series skid steer. They're not only great for cleaning and feed chores, but with John Deere Worksite Pro attachments, you can tackle just about any job thrown your way. You asked for versatility, and John Deere delivered. These rock-solid machines are built to last. See your dealer today.
Members of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, just like Pam and Mike Haley, had a chance to chime in at this year's Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA trade show in Nashville. We asked attendees what they believe to be the best lessons they've learned in the industry. Here's what they had to say.
The best lesson that I have ever learned on my operation, it's that probably 90% of the things you worry about never happen.
Well, I've learned a lot of them, but I guess my best advice would be not to jump into anything too quickly to research it and to study the effects and kind of ease into it a little bit slower. That way you might if you make a mistake, maybe it won't be such a big one.
The best lesson I've ever learned in my operation is pay attention to my veterinarian.
Well, the one we've learned this year for us is cattle comfort is king, and we've done some things to our feedlot that have increased the cattle comfort to the point where we've seen some huge performance benefits, which we're really happy about. So the cattle are a lot more comfortable, and it's good for the cattle and it's good for us.
Flexibility, got to roll with it. Business changes pretty quickly now, and fortunately I work for a very progressive operation, and it's kind of indoctrinated in us that maybe just because Granddad did it one way doesn't mean you need to do it that way.
Well, the biggest lesson learned from the cattle industry is humility. The vagaries of the weather, the fluctuations of the cattle market, if those two things don't make you humble, nothing will.
These folks, just like Pam and Mike Haley, chose to join NCBA and have their voices heard. And so can you. Pick up the phone and call 1-866-USA-BEEF or visit beefusa.org to become a member of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. You'll be glad you did. One of the highlights of the annual Cattle Industry Convention is Cattlemen's College, sponsored by Pfizer Animal Health. It's where producers gather to improve their skills and get information from some of the sharpest minds in our industry. One of this year's sessions focused on the keys to farm business success in turbulent times. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brad Bulla has more.
When he thinks about the future of U.S. agriculture and the cattle business, economist and business consultant Robert Milligan gets very enthusiastic.
I wish I were starting now. It's so incredibly exciting. It's one of the most dynamic sectors in all of our economy.
Dr. Milligan was a featured speaker at the 19th Annual Cattlemen's College, a one-day seminar that gives cattlemen an opportunity to gain knowledge, talk about shared challenges, and get new ideas. In his session, Dr. Milligan said he knows that, like the rest of the economy, the beef cattle industry is going through turbulent times.
Turbulent times really means that our leaders, our owners of businesses have to operate differently. That they have to be much more strategic. I'll make the comment that someone in the business needs to roll out of bed in the morning thinking about the future of the business, not about the cows or the crops or whatever the case may be. Doesn't mean they have to spend all day on it, but it just has to be a priority. And along with that comes the need for our producers and our owners and our managers to have more leadership.
Dr. Milligan challenged leaders of operations of all sizes to focus not only on cattle production issues, but to think big about building a business culture and to think about the long term.
So the real question is, what's the future? What kind of a strategy are we building? Are we building a business that's sound and will thrive today, tomorrow, and the day after? One, you focus on what's important. In other words, do more and more of what's important and less of what's not. And then be proactive, and thirdly, really have that culture that people are focusing on winning.
Another piece of the puzzle, he says, is ensuring the farm or ranch business will succeed and endure into the next generation.
One piece, obviously, is transferring the assets, which we spend lots of time on. But the other challenge is transferring the management, the responsibility, because our senior generation grew with the business. Their skills and leadership ability grew as the business grew. Our younger people now with larger businesses have to grow within the business, and that's quite a different scenario, and sometimes dad or mom doesn't understand that.
Preparing producers for the next challenge over the horizon is what Dr. Milligan specializes in. It's also part of the long-term education available at Cattlemen's College.
The most important part of succeeding in turbulent times is growing and learning and getting new ideas and understanding where the threats are, and Cattlemen's College is a great place to do that.
Reporting from Nashville, Tennessee, I'm Brad Bullitt for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
The annual Cattlemen's College event is sponsored by Pfizer Animal Health. There's more information available online at cattlemantocattleman.org. Checkoff dollars are used in a variety of ways to promote beef through research, education, and innovation. Managing those dollars efficiently is the most important thing the Federation of Qualified State Beef Councils does. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brad Bulla takes us to Nashville, Tennessee, where Valerie Bass and her team at the Tennessee Beef Council turn opportunities for beef advocacy into realities.
Well, in Tennessee, we're lean and mean.
Being lean and mean affords Valerie Bass and her team the chance to find creative ways to make the most of their checkoff dollars.
We try to maximize checkoff dollars by using other industry partners like the Cattlemen's Association. When we do producer communications, we work with our Farm Bureau, with Ag in the Classroom, to extend educational material through that avenue. We also work with our dairy friends. We've done some wonderful billboards throughout the state with a financial co-op partnership between those two. So we just try to maximize checkoff dollars wherever possible.
50 cents of the federally mandated $1 per head beef checkoff goes toward funding individual state programs. The other half of the dollar goes to support national programs. The ultimate goal of all these checkoff-funded programs is to bring better beef awareness to the consumer.
We're trying to focus on consumers and getting the word out to them in whatever avenue that may be. That may be through dietitians and health professionals, the health benefits of beef, consumer marketing. We work with restaurants, and we've had a couple of beef backer winners from Tennessee over the years, so we're proud about that. And we really do try to do a good job to get the word out with them on the many aspects of beef.
Valerie is able to do this and more with her state's checkoff dollars, including host a beef-focused culinary class.
We have a great consumer kitchen. We have a brand new facility here that we're able to host cooking schools in. We host dietitians in. We host college groups in. Just about anybody that we can share beef information with.
Just like cooking a great meal from dozens of individual ingredients, individual states contribute at the national level to accomplish what they couldn't on their own.
When we send half of those dollars to our national organization, it's not really going to an organization, it's going to a thought, really. It's going toward a common goal, which is to produce things that I as a state can't do, like research for health issues, research for beef safety, things that we can all benefit from, but that I could never afford on my own, or our state could never afford on its own. The materials that we get through health research, I'm able to distribute those to doctors and dietitians. They use them with their clients, and you can see how it just keeps going and going and going. And if it weren't for that state-national partnership, we wouldn't be able to research, produce, and have a physical piece to share with the general public. We are looking for every way possible to treat those dollars very, very respectfully and manage them as well as possible.
The opportunities that the beef checkoff brings to consumers begins with cattle producers from across the country.
The people that we work for, the cattle producers, are, they are just salt of the earth people, and I just try to do the very, very best that I can for them every day. Producers can be proud of how their dollars are being used.
Reporting from Nashville, Tennessee, I'm Brad Bulla for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
To learn more about the beef checkoff, visit us at cattlemantocattleman.org, and we'll be right back.
No storm is too powerful for new Purina Wind and Rain Storm Minerals, formulated with ultimate weather resistance. That means more minerals in the feeder and available to your cattle. Wind and Rain Storm Minerals provide more consistent intake and balanced mineral nutrition to optimize herd health and breedback rates. See the difference at your local Purina dealer or visit cattlenutrition.com. Wind and Rain Storm Minerals, another way Purina is building better cattle.
Head to Denver, Colorado and join cattlemen from across the country for the 2012 Cattle Industry Summer Conference. This is your chance to meet with industry leadership and fellow cattlemen on current trends and initiatives while also making valuable contacts. Registered attendees will also have access to hot topics at the Issues Forums. Join us for the 2012 Cattle Industry Summer Conference, July 25th to the 28th in Denver, Colorado. Visit beefusa.org for more information. Assuring beef quality begins with dedicated people such as Phoebe Bittler, a dairy producer, and Jim Warren, a cattle auction market owner. Both are winners of the Beef Checkoff-funded National Beef Quality Assurance Award, and both recognize the need for the entire industry to focus on beef quality.
We've tried to put our best foot forward and try to see that the product that we send out of this country is the most wholesome, safest, best product that anybody could have anywhere. And to be complimented for that effort is an amazing experience.
It's all important, and I think there's some really good protocols laid out in the Beef Quality Assurance Program that will help producers to do the best job that they can do.
Producers across the nation have embraced the BQA program because they're committed to producing the world's best beef. To find out how you can compete for the BQA National Awards, visit the website bqa.org.
There are two things you need to know about Sweet Licks. Number one, they offer a complete line of vitamin, mineral, protein, and medicated nutritional supplements. And number two, they're available in a variety of forms and sizes. What you need, how you need it. For your nearest dealer, just pick up your cone and call 1-87-SWEET-LICKS. That's with an X.
Profitability never tasted so sweet.
We know who made that hitch. We know who cut the steel, who milled the ball, and who welded the seams. We know who tested, measured, and checked. We even know who thought the whole thing up. We're B&W, and we know your hitch. Because we don't make them halfway around the world. We make them all right here. B&W. Trusted.
Well, at least it isn't broken. He said as he wiped his face with his good arm. Although it might be a smidgen out of place. The sucker sure did buck hard. I'm glad I was wearing my hat, or I'd have punched right through that net wire fence and hung there like a bat. Dadgummit, where's the rest of my shirt? All but the sleeves are gone. My chest has got a pattern you could make a waffle on. I remember him squalling with my collar in his teeth as I flopped from neck to shoulder like a rubber Christmas wreath. Have you seen my other bat wing leg? I had it, I'd have sworn. I never wear just half a pair. Must have hooked it on the horn when he ran it up my pant leg, where my inseam used to be. And my off-hind boot is missing. Oh, shoot, that don't bother me. It could still be in the stirrup. I had a dead man's grip. I made several revolutions from his belly to his hip, checked the bow sail in the back cinch as I orbited around. He pumped me like a plumber plunging dirty water down, and then he bounced me off the bucking rolls when he went to changing gears. I did a backflip and catapulted out between his ears, but I hung tight to the neck rein as I spun and ricocheted like someone tied a chicken to a helicopter blade. I was airborne several minutes before I landed in heap, and excepting for this hatband, there ain't nothing left to keep. Can't remember if he kicked me, but these tracks are living proof. This here trademark on my pocket looks suspiciously like hoof. Well, I don't know how the sucker bucked me off. Happened way too fast. But nobody has to tell this fool that I've been cooped to grassed. It's a story old as cowboys. Sometimes the horses win, but at least it isn't broken. So best catch him up again. This is Baxter Black from out there.
Ever wonder where the beef checkoff dollar goes and what it buys? The Federation of State Beef Councils is made up of the 45 qualified state beef councils that collect the $1 per head beef checkoff. Each council keeps control of 50 cents and sends 50 cents to the Cattlemen's Beef Board for use in national beef checkoff programs. Many states also choose to send a portion of their share to the Federation to expand national and international efforts. As a division of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, the Federation of State Beef Councils works to support an effective state and national partnership, helping to increase beef demand through research, promotion, and education. Because producers themselves direct these programs, your beef checkoff dollars are in good hands. Learn more about the Federation of State Beef Councils by visiting beefusa.org.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at this week's legacy photos from the operation of this year's National Environmental Stewardship Award Program winner. We're always accepting photos to be included in our Legacy Photos slideshow. Visit cattleman2cattleman.org and submit yours. We'll see you back here next week on RFD TV.